Okay, this is Jacob Schmitt with DeerHuntingSchool.com. This video here is a video analysis of a property for Deontay. Deontay, I appreciate you letting me take a look at your property here. Hope I can help you out. I read your email that you originally sent me before you sent me the breakdown and stuff. It's impressive that you've killed a decent buck there every single year on this one particular spot here where the red dot is. That's impressive since you were 12 years old. And reading your email, seems like you're killing it on opening day of rifle season every year. That's like, that's amazing that you kill a deer every single day, every single time. If that's on the opening day or opening, maybe it's a couple days or whatever, but maybe I misunderstood that a little bit. But nevertheless, that's typical of a spot. When you find a spot that it's like a seasonal pattern, deer will have certain times of the year they'll use certain spots in certain areas certain ways. I have a course on a timing course that kind of talks about that, but it's still impressive that you've done that every year though. Sound to me like that you've done it every year on opening day. That's what's impressive. Not that the deer are there every day. Or every year during that, and y'all's rifle season opens the end of November every single year. That's not uncommon for deer to be in certain areas and use certain things at certain times of the year every year. But it's impressive that you've killed one every single year there. Now you talked about wanting to up the game and get better deer because the deer you were killing were 140, 150 pound bucks, which sound like to me like they're younger bucks, 1.5, maybe 2.5-year-old deer, because you're further north. Y'all's deer should be a little bigger than down here in the south. Down here in the south, that's a pretty good sized deer. A lot of 3.5-year-olds, 4.5-year-olds weighing that down here in Arkansas. But for being up north, that sounds to me like that's a little bit younger deer. So you're wanting to up the age class of your deer. The first thing I would say is on that is, you sound like you've got a couple 10-pointers. You've got a 14, 15 point and a 17 point. Something I can't remember. I know you had a picture, said you had pictures of a giant 17 pointer. I couldn't remember if it was a 14 or 15 or 12 point or something that you had. So it sounds like you've got a few really good deer in the area. The thing with your big deer are there's less of them. They're not necessarily harder to kill, but you just don't have as many. Okay, so you've killed a deer here, a buck, every single year off of this stand right here. So which is, right here. Every single year you've killed a buck right in here. Okay, there's a reason for that. There's a reason that they're that consistent there. I'm assuming by looking at what you've showed me here, and looking at what you've got, you're hunting with a rifle. I'm assuming a lot of it is you've got a long shooting lane right here that's covering some ground, and I'm just assuming that you probably have got a little bit of shooting distance here, whether you've cleared some shooting lanes or whatever. Let me erase this here. So I'm assuming, your stand's here and you can shoot down this shooting lane. And then I'm also assuming, like I said, that you've got some shooting distance here. So I'm definitely, thinking that you can cover, let me put this here, feet. Let's go to yards. That you can cover a little distance here. Okay, you've got 116 yards from your stand to the back of this field, so that's a really good shooting lane. 115 yards, whatever. So that's you know, and then I'm assuming that you can cover a little bit of ground. Hit the wrong button. You know, back behind you. So, you know, you're covering, you know, I'm going to say a couple 100 yards there, which is a really good strategy when you are using a rifle, okay? So anytime you're using a rifle, the more distance you can cover, the more effective that you're using that range that the gun has, the better. So, you know, that's, to me, it looks like that's one part of what you're doing here. And the other part that what's going on is I feel like a lot of what's happening is you are in a natural funnel. It's a really wide funnel, but it's a natural funnel. And I'll zoom out here just a little bit. I'm going to zoom out on Google Earth here just a little bit. This whole property, especially this area right here, is just a natural funnel. As I zoom out, you notice down in this area you've got a large area of broken up woods, you know, and stuff like this. It's really a large area, and these deer are funneling through this area, and you're covering a lot of it. You know, you're not covering all of it, but you're covering a lot of it with when you're hunting there, you know, whether they're coming back and forth. And then up in here, you've got a pretty large area. So this whole section here is a natural funnel for the deer. And then with that little lane right there, and you've got another one right here, and it looks like you've already got a stand set up on it, which is a good looking stand to me as well. So you're covering a lot of that. I would like to see, if it was me, I would pay a lot of attention to the creek side of it, if it were me. Because I just see a lot of bucks following creeks. The only other thing you have is you do have a ridge here. Okay, that's what your purple line said in your ledger that you sent on what this was a ridge. So the problem is with, you know, moving over here and close to the creek and just focusing on the creek is that you're leaving the ridge, and bucks love to cruise ridges during that time of year. Another thing we need to think about and realize is you're hunting, in your email, you hunt every Saturday after the Thanksgiving. So is the opener of rifle season. So that timing is that late November, okay? We got to look at what the bucks are doing. What are the bucks doing at that time? Okay, for the most part, you know, a November rut is what's going on. And where you're at, it's definitely a November rut. There's no doubt about it. The bucks are rutting in November. They're beginning to wind down. So at the beginning of November, y'all, I'm going to erase all this real quick. The bucks really ramp up in the beginning of November. Late October, beginning of November, the rut really kicks in, and then it's got like a bell curve, and it'll come back down a little bit. And this is the peak breeding. And that heavy movement is in that early November, that late October, early November, when the does first start coming in, and you've got a lot of that does in estrus. And then you get in the middle of November here, you've got a lot of does in estrus. You'll actually have less, let me change colors here. You'll actually have less buck movement. The yellow is going to be the buck movement. So early November, late October, early November, we're going to have a lot of buck movement. It's going to go down because there's a lot of does in estrus. They don't have to move far to be breeding. But then as you notice, this is, you know, middle of November. As you notice, you swing towards the end of that November, it's almost like you go back into a seeking phase. That chasing phase and that seeking phase comes back just like you had in late October, early November. And if anybody hunts, you know, whitetail deer and they're having a November rut, if you just think and you'll notice, look at your trail camera pictures, past trail camera pictures, stuff like that. And Deontay, you've got trail cameras, you said. You look at some of your trail camera pictures, and you'll probably see a connection with this timing, because I'll run trail cameras a lot of times. I haven't got it started. I'm fixing to probably go tomorrow, put out my trail cameras. I usually put my trail cameras out in June, late June, run them through July, and pick up some summer bucks, pictures, stuff like that. And then I'll run trail cameras all through the deer season, and I'll come back and I'll look at them. A lot of times I'll put a trail camera out there and I'll never come back and get it till the end of deer season. A lot of times it's February. I'll put the trail camera out and sometimes I'll put the thing out in July and not even come get it until February. So I don't even have a clue what's on there, and I'll look. But what I notice is a lot of times right there in that late October, okay, late October, early November, this timing here, I'll notice that, actually, I say late October, I'll notice that like, it usually seems like maybe after the 15th of October, 15th to the 19th, somewhere in there, I'll just all of a sudden get pictures of bucks that were never there on some cameras. Usually it's at night, but then as I get close, usually they're in the middle of the night, okay? But as I get closer to this time here, you know, so I start out in the middle of November, I'll usually pop pictures of some good bucks. I'm like, wow, where in the heck did he come from? And it'll be in the middle of the night. And he'll show up on a couple of my cameras because he's roaming. And then and it's always in the middle of the night, it seems like. And then it seems like as I get towards that late October, early November, he'll start popping up in the daytime, early in the morning, late in the evening. And I'll catch a couple daytime pictures of him. Or right at the fringes of daylight where mid-October, it was all midnight. 1, 2, 11 o'clock at night, stuff like that. Middle of the darkness, okay? And then he'll start popping up, and not just one, there'll be several of them that'll do this. And then it'll kind of die off, and there's no telling what happens really in the middle of November because the rut's going on. All of November, the rut's going on. So you're in the rut. Buck can show up at any moment. I'll have pictures of bucks in the middle of the day, middle of the night. Sometimes I get pictures of bucks I've never seen. It's the rut. Okay, but what happens is we get towards that end of November, that buck movement starts rising up because the does that are in estrus, there's not as many does in estrus, but the rut's still taking place. There's still a few does in estrus, but there's less of them, so they have to do more roaming. They have to cover more ground to breed the does, to find the estrus does, stuff like that. And there's a lot more competition with the rut. So your real aggressive bucks are going to run off your more non-aggressive bucks from areas and stuff like that. And rack size doesn't have anything to do with aggression of deer. I killed a crazy 5-point a few years ago that was scarred up, tore up. He actually run another buck plumb off the property. Had trail camera pictures of him with some other bucks. The other buck disappeared. I ended up getting pictures of him, but this buck I think he was a 4.5-year-old deer, but he was definitely super aggressive, and he was not much more than a spike, like 2-foot tall spikes with some forks on top. So rack size doesn't mean nothing. The other buck was way prettier. He just wasn't as aggressive, and I've seen that with several deer, so that has nothing to do with it. But this is when you're hunting, okay? This here is this time when the funnels, things like that come into effect. I like to really early November and stuff. I like when the seeking's going on, chasing. I love to hunt funnels. I love to hunt creek banks, creek crossings, okay? Stuff like that where bucks are likely to cruise, where they're likely to cover ground. I like falling edges. I like hunting edges. Something that I feel like a buck's going to come cruising past me. And then as I get towards this middle, let me change colors here. As I get into this time where, like right in here, where this starts going up and down from, here, I like to hunt really close to doe bedding areas and stuff like that because that's where the does are going to be during the daytime. 99% of their time, they're going to be right around that bedding area. And that's where your bucks are going to be. They're going to be with the does. There's going to be seeking, breeding, stuff like that takes place, and some chasing, and most of that's going to take place inside this window here. So if you're hunting just the one day, It depends on when Thanksgiving falls. If you're hunting a few days, you can kind of strategize as far as how many days are you hunting. If you're really into that late November, early December hunting, I think you're kind of best hunting like a seeking type of a, where these bucks are cruising, they're covering more grounds. It's almost like a second rut. A lot of people see the rut activity early November and they think that's the peak of the rut. It's the peak movement of the bucks. The peak of the breeding, you're actually going to see less buck movement. So I really think you're actually hunting in this late November when that buck movement starts to pick back up and ramp back up, where they're covering a lot of ground. And what they're doing, they're going from a doe group to doe group to doe group to doe group, looking for estrus does. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Deontay, is you've got proven track record on this stand. To abandon that, I think, would be insane. To abandon this stand location, it's got proven track record. If something's got proven track record to me, year after year after year after year after year, if I'm seeing bucks, there's a reason them bucks are there. Just because a 7-pointer walks through here, you crack him, doesn't mean that one of these big bucks that you had on camera wasn't going to walk through there, or is not 100 yards behind him, 200 yards behind him when you pull the trigger. Doesn't mean that if you shoot that deer and sit there and wait the rest of the day that one of them bigger bucks may come through. I'm not sure what y'all's bag limit is. My number one suggestion to anybody with a similar situation to this, one of the hardest things to do, I've done it somewhat. I'll tell you, it's the hardest thing to do, in my opinion, is especially when you have a limited number of days. Deontay, sounds like you're in the service. You're stationed, out of state. I appreciate you for your service for our country and stuff. You don't get a lot of hunting time. I don't hunt as much as a lot of people think I do. I hunt mostly the weekends. I do own a tree service, but I work. I have to work. I have bills to pay. I do the deerhuntingschool.com stuff. It's fun to me. I love to deer hunt, and I like to help people because I realize that I have a really good grasp on idea of what deer are doing. And I also know that there's a lot of people out there that would love to hunt, but it's not any fun to them. Okay, hunting is fun as can be to me, but I see deer all the time, and that's because I have that experience. You take someone that's never hunted, they go out there in the woods and they're just seeing a bunch of trees. They can't see the deer trails. They have a hard time spotting scrapes. They have a hard time telling what an edge is, especially when you get into a big wood situation. They can't look at a map to see what a funnel is. My goal is to kind of point some people in the right direction so that they can get out there and enjoy it, and at least see some deer and have some fun. But the number one thing I'm going to tell you, Deontay, and you may not like it, is you've got to let them other deer walk. You've got to let the smaller bucks walk if you're going to kill a bigger buck. It's seriously, you have to let them 1.5, 2.5-year-olds walk before you can kill 3.5, 4.5, 5.5-year-old deer. If you hunt there enough, eventually you're going to catch that one of the bigger deer walk right past you if you hunt there enough. But to consistently kill the older deer, you've got to let the younger deer walk by. It's not that I see this all the time, especially on forums, comments, and guys, if you're watching this video, feel free to comment below, on YouTube. Thank Deontay, for his service, and thank him for, paying for the video analysis, because this is going to help a lot of people. But I see a lot of times on forums, well, you shot this young buck, that's the reason we can't kill big bucks, is because you're killing them all young. That's not what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that is part of it. When you shoot a deer, he's not getting any older. Okay, that is part of it. But most of the time, especially when you have bucks coming through an area that consistent, when you're killing bucks every single year off of this stand, you're killing a buck every single year, there's a reason they're there. Um, I'm most certain the reason that they're there is they're cutting through this funnel. Okay, either one or two things is happening. Either you're shooting the smaller buck and not giving the chance to let the bigger buck come through, or the bigger buck is slipping around you where you can't see him. That's the only two things. If you're killing a buck there every single year, I didn't ask you how old you was. Since you're 12 years old, off of this stand, you've killed one every single year. There are some big bucks walking through there, and I'm just seriously believe that you're pulling the trigger too quick. Let them deer walk. Give them a chance. Hunt the stand all day long. I'm talking from daylight to dark. The times that you're hunting, that time of the year that you're hunting is a daylight to dark. It's that the bucks are up on their feet. They're moving a lot. I'm not going to say that they move a whole bunch in the middle of the day, because they don't move as much in the middle of the day as they do early in the morning, late in the evening. But it seems to me like a lot of times when you see these deer in the middle of the day, it seems like, I would say 80 is during that time of year, okay? During that time of year you're talking about, that November, that mid, late November, it seems like when you see a deer in the middle of the day, I'm going to say 80+% of the time, it's a good buck. It's not a, sometimes it's going to be a young buck, sometimes it's going to be a doe, stuff like that. But a lot of times it's your really good bucks. It's them ones that's in the middle of the day. I don't know if it's the way that we hunt. A lot of humans hunt, that we've educated them and trained them to move in the middle of the day. Sometimes I think that's part of it, because most people, they go out there, they start hunting at daylight. When the sun comes up, they're there, they're real early. They hunt till 9, 10 o'clock in the day. They leave, they drive to McDonald's, to their deer camp, whatever, see what everybody's killed. They go to the local check station, see if they can't, shoot the bull with all the hunters, and then they come back, that 3 or 4 o'clock, maybe even 2, whatever. They come back around 3, and then they hunt till dark. Okay, that leaves a huge window in the middle of the day where there's very few hunters in the woods, and these older deer know what human beings smell like, and they can smell them from a long, long ways away. I'm a firm believer that in rifle season, especially in heavy hunted areas, which this area you're in is the state that you're in, I know, is a fairly heavy hunted state. I'm a believer that there's not a single deer in the woods that does not smell a human being almost at all times during the rifle season. There's so many people hunting them. That I believe that when that huge wave of hunters leave 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the day, that these older deer say, okay, there's not anybody in the woods. I'm getting up and I'm moving. I'm going to go over here where all the ladies hang out and do my thing because it's safe. I believe that. Okay. So as far as stand locations that I see that you may be missing, we're talking rifle hunting. I'm going to be bow hunting this, I would be bow hunting this. I'm going to tell you, most likely, I would be tucked right in here. I would also watch this ridge. I would have a stand, here. I'm bow hunting. I know that these bucks will cruise the ridges. I do believe that the creek is going to be hotter, possibly. Right in here, there's a main road and stuff. As these deer come out, out of here, as they come out of these areas and stuff, there could be tight here, and right up in here and stuff could be good. But I like that creek. Okay, I really like creeks. So stand locations for rifle is, to me, some adjustments that I think you could make, really simple adjustments. And I don't know if you can get up there in time, because you are stationed in another state. If possible, If not, I really do believe that if you'll let some of the younger deer walk, you may not kill a deer. One thing about going after older deer is you may have a season, especially if you don't get to hunt very much. You know, even though you're hunting, I could kill a nice buck. I could kill 2 nice bucks every single year without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, good ones. 3.5-year-old and older, no ifs, ands, or buts about it if I rifle hunted, because I hunt quite a bit, but I still don't hunt a whole bunch. If you're only getting to hunt a few days, even with a rifle, there's a good chance if you let a 110-inch 8-pointer walk, that may be the only buck you get to see. So that's one thing you have to put in your mind, that hey, if you're going to kill big bucks, you've got to be willing to say, you know what, I didn't kill a buck. Tell your buddies or whatever, I didn't kill one. But when you do pull the trigger, it's going to be a bigger buck. It may be once every couple years or something like that, depending on how much you get to hunt. So I'm going to zoom in here. A couple of things that I think you could do really quick to increase your odds is, we're going to make a mark here. Your stand that you're really killing all these deer off is right in here, okay? So, and I'm assuming, that you can shoot fairly well, being in the military and all. So I'm assuming, 150, 200-yard shot is probably not out of the question. So, I would go out 150 yards. This right here, I would like to see this cleared a little bit here, right here, a little bit further, if possible. I don't know if your grandfather or whatever let you do that. I don't see why he wouldn't at least let you, clear a little bit further shooting lane through there. I don't know. I would definitely love, if you can't, or even if you can't see all the way, I would like for this to be as far as you can possibly see up here, a shooting lane. And when I'm hunting woods like this, I like my shooting lanes, something like that. Especially if I'm hunting with a rifle and I'm getting a little bit longer shot. And a lot of times with a rifle, stuff like this, it's just a matter of doing a little bit of trimming, trimming a couple limbs here and there. But that stuff needs to be done early. It needs to be done like right now, so the deer can get used to it. They can calm down. Any deer that come through there, it's not a big deal. A lot of these bucks that you're hunting at that time of year, they're rutting anyways. They may not even see that until they walk through there while you're sitting on that stand. That just depends. This is a good stand. Looks like to me almost like you're hunting the same thing. This stand right here that's set right here. Same thing on it. If you're going to hunt this stand, I would like to see, let me erase that. I would like to see this shooting lane at least extend down into this creek. Obviously, you can't cut a shooting lane across the main highway. Okay. You've got a bedding area laid out here. Okay. And I'm definitely know that there's bedding and stuff back in here. One reason I think what's going on that time of year, you're killing a lot of bucks, is they're going from this bedding area here, this bedding area right in here, and down in here, and they're bedding areas that are down in this area, and they're coming back and forth. Whether they're covering this edge, walking this oak line right here that's here, or this hardwood flat, or this side of this hill, this ridge, side of this hardwood ridge, whether they're running the edge of that or whatever. I believe a lot of these deer are coming from this bedding area to here. Okay. So that leads me to, stands that are in between some of these other beddings. This stand here, this setting here, I like that. I'm not sure exactly what it is. What you are rifle hunting. I would definitely, this stand right here, It's definitely that when you get to that middle of the rut, it's a really good stand. When you get into that, say that if you're talking November, we're talking that November 10th through maybe like the 16th or something. These are just guidelines, kind of that can swing back and forth, a few days to a week. When these bucks are really starting to lock down on these does and are really starting to chase them. I love that chasing phase when bucks are chasing does. Not so much that early November, but as you get into that, maybe even that 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere in there, maybe, maybe from anywhere from maybe like the 8th to the 12th, 15th or something, somewhere in that time frame it starts, depending on exactly where you're at, as these bucks really start chasing these does and harassing them before you get to the serious peak of the breeding. Okay, I love to hunt in bedding areas like that and around edges of it and stuff like that, because I really like areas where I can get in without bumping the does too much that are in there, getting set up early in the morning and sitting there all day. And it seems to me like a lot of that late morning, you get a lot of that late morning activity. I think that's where a lot of these deer are really getting back into the bedding area, the does are. And I think a lot of them bucks are there, and they'll get up and they'll start kind of chasing them around, seeking. Stuff like that takes place. This stand here, I'm going to do my best to pull up about where it is here on the Google Earth. I can pull up about where it is. But you have this fork. You've got this fork in this river, creek, whatever you want to call it, right here. Okay, and then you have this big bedding area here that's, pretty thick stuff here. I would love, if you could get in there, maybe like along this creek, get up in that stand, set up and have shooting lanes where you can, shoot across that creek, across this creek, stuff like that. I think that's a really good setup. Now, not sure, what's up here. There's a barn, house. Not sure, how close you can hunt to that or whatever. But that creek right in here, I think that's good spot right up in here as these deer will cut through that creek. I'm not sure, what exactly is going on there, as far as, being too close to these houses or whatever, but that's a area where I feel like there should be some deer cutting across, and I would imagine that quite a few deer will cross their driveway right there. This driveway here, I imagine quite a few deer cross that. Bucks, I would think. And then, because that leads from bedding area to bedding area and along that creek, a lot of bucks will travel these creeks. Let me change colors because it's mixing with the colors you've got on there. Let's just go creek. A lot of bucks will travel creeks. They just travel creeks. If you find a property and let's just say you got 2 days to hunt the whole year and you're going to a new property, you've never seen it, and you're like, man, I just want to have my best chance of killing a buck. It's the rut, it's middle of November, there's a creek running through this property. My suggestion is set up somewhere on that creek. Without being able to scout and see what deer, it's one of the best, most consistent areas to kill bucks on, especially if you can get on a crossing where they cross, because they'll cruise up and down it. But then if you're on a crossing, say like something like here where they're kind of coming out of a little natural funnel here, and they're crossing here. Let's say they're crossing here. That's a really good spot where you can set up a stand, something like that. And this is, here's like a little natural funnel here between the barn and the houses, and there's a creek. This here could be a good spot too, right off the end of that field, little natural funnel here. Bucks coming out of a little bedding area here, and it looks like you've already got a stand there, which it looks like it's a good spot to me for a stand. I would love to, shooting lanes to be able to shoot there. As these bucks are coming from bedding area to bedding area and wandering this property, checking these bedding areas, I think them are really good potential spots. The, you know, the, so this stand that sets here, let me erase all this. This stand that sets here, I'm not sure, I can't see, you know, if you got shooting lanes or whatever. I like this stand. Definitely have to be able to shoot through here, and you've definitely got to be able to shoot across that creek, through that creek right here, because you're going to have bucks cruising up and down that creek. It's just that simple. As they're going, you know, from one bedding area to a next. Trail cameras, your trail cameras, running your trail cameras and stuff, I'll tell you, one thing I think is, you know, one of the best tricks, you know, per se, in my opinion, is if you've got multiple trail cameras, if you can get up there and you need trail cameras that'll run batteries really good. They'll do batteries really good, unless you can, you know, check them every couple months and swap the batteries. And sounds to me like there's a possibility that could be difficult for you, unless you've got someone else up on this property that can do that. That's honest, will tell you what you're seeing and not hide some information from you. With your trail cameras, getting them set up in areas that are known deer areas, okay? And basically, for you, what trail cameras can do, there's several things they can do, but for you, the number one thing, well, I'm not going to say the number one. I'm just going to list a couple things that they can do for you in what I see as your situation. And a lot of these is for anybody. One of the biggest things that they can do for anybody is they can tell you what bucks are on your property. So they'll tell you what kind of bucks, what kind of caliber bucks are in your area. Okay, and that alone gives you that confidence to say, hey, I can let this 7-pointer walk, because, you know, there's a bigger buck, and that makes it a lot easier to let, you know, a younger buck walk when you know for sure that there's a bigger buck there. Okay, so it lets you know what bucks are in your area. Okay, another thing that it does is it lets you know what bucks are in your area that hang out with each other. What bucks are friends, I'm just abbreviating this, with other bucks. Okay, that is a big thing there, especially when, say, you've got a pretty dang nice, I'm just throwing out an example here. You said you had two 10-pointers. Okay, we're going to say one of them's a big 10-point. He's, you know, 140, 150 or bigger. Okay, and we're going to say the other one is he's just a young 10-point. You know, he's just hitting at 120 or so, you know, which would be a really small 10-pointer. Most 10-pointers are over 125 inches. But we're just using this for an example. But let's say that you also have this crazy looking 2.5-year-old 3-pointer. I mean, he's got, you know, just a big old fork on one side, and he's really unique, and you can identify him from anywhere because, you know, a spike comes out like that or something. Okay, this is his horns. But this buck is running with this big 10-point. You see them together a lot. Okay. But also, they're in the group, there's also a really nice 7-pointer that runs with these 3 bucks. So you got this crazy looking 3-point that I kind of drew out here. You've got a 7-point, and then you've got this really big 10-pointer. Okay, and they kind of hang out together quite a bit. Okay, that lets you know that when you see this smaller 10-point, you know, he's kind of a loner deer. Let's just gonna say this 120-inch deer, he's kind of a loner deer for whatever reason. Just hypothetical example here. So this smaller 10-point, he just kind of hangs out with himself. Sometimes he hangs out with a spike. Okay, so he's hanging out with this here. But you see this small 10 point, and or you see this spike, and then you see this small 10 point. So that's probably what's hanging out. But let's just say you're not worried about the spike anyway, so you ain't going to shoot him anyway. So now you got to think, well, do I want to shoot this small 10 point? But you really want to kill this one. So let's just say that you see this really nice 7-pointer. Okay, and you're thinking, man, this is the kind of buck I would like to kill. Trail cameras can say, hey, I can hold off because I know that this really big 10 point is running with this deer a lot. That's the kind of stuff it can help you with. Okay, it helps you identify what deer you run with. Probably one of the biggest things. Both of these they're all big, but another huge thing trail cameras can do, especially for you put them out on your property, leave these trail cameras through your hunting season. You want these trail cameras running, as many trail cameras as you can afford and manage. Okay, on this property in some of these key areas, some of these areas where you know that you're going to get pictures. I like one thing, if you're not there a whole bunch, I don't know what this creek does, if this creek floods. If this creek is apt to flood, you got to kind of be careful about putting it too close to the creek, because you're in another state and y'all get a bunch of heavy rain. You can't run out there and pull the trail camera to get it out of the way so to get run by water. So you have to be careful of that. I've had that happen. But any of these creek crossings are really good spots. If you walk down this creek, you'll see that there's creek crossings. They'll just be where there's deer crossing the creeks. Them are good spots if your camera's not going to get swamped out. Somewhere around your stand where most of your deer are, even a couple cameras. I've put 3 cameras on one stand location before. You can put a couple. I would put a couple cameras on this here, or at least getting what's going through there. And you want them cameras running. If you can get up there by September and get your cameras out and let them cameras run till Christmas. Okay. So let's just say that you can run these cameras from October to Christmas. If you could run these cameras from, I'm going to erase everything I've got here. You can run these cameras from October to December 25th or Christmas. Okay, right after Christmas break. So you get a Christmas break, you can go up there, pull your cameras or whatever, or something like that, or even let them run through spring. It doesn't matter. You just want these cameras running all the time through your hunting times. Okay, and you want a few cameras, because what this is going to do is going to allow you to say, okay, this stand here, you want cameras on your stands that you feel like are the most active. In my opinion, this one's no doubt. I think this one's a really good stand. This one here looks good if you get some shooting lanes. This one looks good. This one maybe, I'm not sure about that one. And if you have deer feeding out here, coming back and forth, coming through this bedding area, or they're feeding out in this oaks. This one here looks decent to me because the deer can run this ridge. This one's close to that bedding area, so I kind of like it. I'm not sure about this one either. You may have a few deer coming through here or whatever, but your hottest stands to me to have trail cameras on here, this area is the hottest stand, and you're going to have to kind of figure out where you're going to put them. This stand's decent. This stand and that stand. And I'm kind of here thinking, one or the other here. So let me erase this. So I would probably just put cameras here real good. I probably wouldn't put them on both. I think that a lot of your deer that come through here are going to also come through this area. And they're going to be relatively close. I think you're going to have a lot of the same stuff there. This area here, you know, this area and then this area. So you could probably, you know, depending on how many cameras you have, I'm going to kind of, from most importance, if you've got enough, you can set cameras, you know, on all of them. I wouldn't worry about this one, because like I said, so I would probably not worry about this one, because you've got down here, you're gonna get a lot of the same stuff. And then, so this would be my number one, because that seems to be like your number one stand. This stand here would probably be my number two. And then I'm going to say number three. Well, yeah, I'm going to say number three. And then maybe number four. And these two, you know, this area, here, during the rut, okay, because you're going to have deer cruising. This is a little funnel. This is not actual little funnel. This here, the buck should be coming up and down the creek. And then this one here, you're killing deer. And what you want is your trail cameras to run. So we got October through Christmas, okay? You want to have all the pictures through November or whatever, especially that time frame that you hunt the most, so that late November. So this is Thanksgiving, so that, say, a week after. You want to go back, you want to see what all bucks you have from that time frame on your property, okay? And then you want to see where them bucks showed up the most during this time frame. Okay? I hope this makes sense to you. You want to see what areas that them bucks showed up the most during this time frame. Okay? During the daytime, you know, shooting hours are really close to it. One thing, though, about trail cameras miss a lot of deer pictures. I mean, they miss a bunch of them. I have had, just a real quick example, I had a pond set up. Here's the pond. I had a really big 10-point I was hunting. He's like 150-inch deer. Last pictures I had of him. At this time, he was probably like a 135. But I had a deer stand right here, 20 yards. Actually, from my stand to the other side of that was 24 yards where most of the deer walked down. I shot a coyote there, killed several deer there. It was 24 yards where most of the deer would come down. They'd drink in the water. They'd walk through these little gaps, 24 yards. Okay, I'm going to draw this a little bigger. This is so small. I'm sorry, I'm going to erase everything and redo this. So this, because it's ridiculously small. Okay, so here's the pond. Got a stand set up here. From that stand to right here was 24 yards. Okay. I had a trail camera set right here. And I had a trail camera set right here. Okay, I got the very first picture of this 10-point walking right through here. I mean, he was a good one. He's in velvet. Got him in like July sometime. Really good picture of this deer. And I was excited. I'm like, oh, heck yeah. The opening, the day before opening day of bow season, got a picture of him right here. 7 minutes before legal shooting light. I hunted it there opening day. Didn't see nothing. The second opening evening, okay, hunted there, didn't see anything. The second evening, the buck was coming towards me. He was out in here about 60 yards away. Him and his bachelor group was walking towards me. And my son was up at the vehicle up here about a couple hundred yards away. He started making a bunch of racket and anything. The deer froze up and he just stood there. Okay, I thought maybe the thing was runt because I come to after this happened, okay, like I waited a couple days. Okay, so that was like, I don't know exactly the dates, but it was like September the 28th or something when my son done this. He was hooping and hollering for the vehicle. This big buck standing out there at 60 yards, broadside, just throwing his nose up, trying to smell whatever. He couldn't figure out. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't move, didn't do nothing. He literally stood there until I just could not see him no more. It got so dark. And I have no idea what he done after that. I thought, man, this may not be bad. Called one of my buddies, Bill Val. He owns Pressure Deer Pro. said, hey, what do you think about it? He said, man, you better get back here and just keep hunting him, because he said, I don't think it's going to bother him a bit. I couldn't get back there the next day, so I didn't come for a couple days. I come back a couple days, check this trail camera, because it was on my way in and out. I had a trail camera there on my way in and out, so I could check it on the way in and out, because I had to pass by it anyways. That's why this trail camera was here. I checked this trail camera, pulled the card, no pictures of him whatsoever. So I thought, man, he's gone. That spooked him. It messed up. Something happened, it messed it up. So I hunted a couple more times, checked the trail camera several more times, never a single picture of him. This went on for like a month. I checked his trail camera, no pictures. I gave up on the deer. I gave up on him being there, while the whole time there's a trail camera sitting right here. And if you want, you can go look at my trailer video, a deer hunting school trailer, and you can see the pictures of this buck. He's a 10-pointer. He's actually October the 6th. I wasn't there hunting, obviously, or he would have been on my wall. Possibly. October the 6th. After all this is going on, I had about 100 pictures of this deer fighting with another 8-pointer right here. And I had hundreds. I let this go on for like a month. I mean, I finally checked my camera like the middle of November or something. This camera over here, because I didn't want to walk over there and disturb any deer. The buck wasn't coming over here anymore. Never had a single picture of him. Had hundreds of pictures of him over here. And I had pictures of a lot of other bucks. I kind of gave up on the spot, and I was hunting other stuff. I actually ended up, I wasn't just out hunting no reason. I had other bucks I was hunting. I ended up missing a really nice 8-point twice that season. Wounded one. I shot him real low in the leg. That's in one of my videos. But anyways, this stand is sitting right here. And I know I'm sorry this is taking me so long, but it's kind of important to realize that this is how many pictures that buck they can miss. This trail camera right here was about 5 yards from my tree. This trail camera was about 15 yards from my tree. These two trail cameras were within 20 yards of each other. I had hundreds of pictures of a Pope and young buck during the daytime. Let's get this. Hundreds of pictures. Now, we're not talking about nighttime, midnight pictures. We're talking daytime pictures. 99% of them were daytime pictures of this buck on this camera, and several other bucks, daytime pictures. That's the key. Daytime pictures. Never had one single picture of a shooter buck on this camera right here that was 20 yards away from it. Not a single one during that time frame. Okay. I missed a nice buck there a couple years ago on this exact spot. I couldn't get a shot at him. He come cruising through so fast. He was fighting with another buck and chasing a doe, and I bleeded to stop him. He stopped right behind a bush, and he went on at 8 yards. Couldn't get a shot at him with my bow. But that's just wicked. But one thing that I did find out, and I did, is for some reason it seemed, I think it was my traffic coming in and out so much that deer just kind of avoided this side of the pond. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. But I used them trail camera pictures that year to realize what these deer are doing. I always would hunt this stand. Now I hunt this stand early in the season. Unless it gets really, really hot, I'll hunt it the first couple days real hard. Unless we just have an extended dry period because of this pond. And I will also come back and I'll hunt it in the rut. I've actually stopped hunting in the rut because some guys camp up here. So it's basically ruined this spot. I hunt it early in the season and I just give up on it. But you can use them trail camera pictures to say what these deer are going to do, when they're going to be in areas at certain times of the year. Okay? And just because you're not getting pictures of them right that second doesn't mean that them deer ain't in this area. This property's not that big. I think I've measured it to be 117 acres. if you've got bucks on this property in this area, I mean, there's no doubt you're going to have them on that area. You've killed too many bucks there. I think it's really seriously just a matter of letting them smaller bucks walk, waiting it out, putting it in your mind that, hey, I'm going to kill a bigger buck no matter what. If I have to go 2-3 years without killing a deer, I'm waiting for a big buck. That's how you kill big bucks. It really is. It really, really is. You know, if you was able to hunt every single day, you'd have this property so overhunted it probably wouldn't even be that good, but you'd have to have several other places to hunt. But I do believe that if you put it in your mind that you're going to hold off, you're going to kill a big buck. You're probably not going to kill one every single year unless you got, say, like a whole week you can hunt. And then you want to kind of diversify your stuff out across this property. You know what I'm saying? Maybe hunt this a couple days. In the rut during that time, I don't feel bad about hunting a property or a stand every single day. If I know it's proven stand, I don't mind hunting it every single day. If I can get in and out without spooking a bunch of deer, I don't mind it. So that's my what I see on this property. I honestly can't say, hey, move a stand over here, move a stand over here, move a stand over here, when I know for sure that you've killed a deer here every single year. My truthful opinion, hunt this stand, make this your number one stand. It's got proven track record, and let the smaller bucks walk and wait for the big one. Be ready to put him down when he comes through there. There's no way that I can feel that there's not a big buck going to walk through there. You can use your trail cameras to build that confidence. Set your trail cameras up. Like I said, see what them deer are doing, what deer you have from October to Christmas, and then look where most of that deer them bucks are during that Thanksgiving, that time frame that you hunt, which is sounds to me like it's a pretty short time frame. See where them bucks are mostly on that property. Do that for several years. Gather your data and use the data that you've had in the past to figure out where them bucks are. And that's how you use the trail cameras, because you can't just go out there and check a trail camera every day. That's just added pressure on a deer. Only time I check trail cameras, sometimes I'll have spots like I had on that one particular on that pond. I'll set up a camera just so I can access it frequently. And I didn't check that camera every single time I come in and out. I'd come in and hunt it. I'd wait a couple weeks. I'd check the camera. But I had an easy access where I could check it if I wanted to. So I do that sometimes, but I use trail cameras a lot of times to tell me what activity the bucks are doing at certain time frames. And that's a lot of reasons why I can say with high confidence that, the timing on what the bucks are going to do in your area. I know that late October, I know that movement picks up big time, and then I know that it dies off. It revolves around does and stuff like that during that middle of time of the year. I know that. I have that confidence. And I'll tell you one thing about deer hunting. I love to fish. I love to bass fish tournaments. If anybody's followed me, Deontay, apparently you've seen a few of my videos. Anybody else? One thing that is huge is you have to have confidence. Okay? Let's just say fishing, for example. You can't go out and fish a spot if you don't think there's fish there. You just can't do it. I mean, you're not going to stay there. You're not going to fish it. You're just not going to do it. Deer hunting is probably even more important than that, because one thing about fishing is if you ain't caught a fish in an hour in a spot, there's a good chance you need to move to another spot. Okay, if you were sitting right here on this deer stand and you ain't killed a deer in an hour, or let's not use that one because that one's not the best example. You got your hunting hole right here. You're sitting there and you ain't killed deer in an hour. That means you probably just need to wait another 8 hours if you've killed one there every year. That kind of thing. So you've got to have a lot of confidence, more confidence hunting that you're in the right spot. And trail cameras can build that confidence big time. Especially when you expand it out over and look and see what the deer are doing from one year to the next. Not so much from day to day, because they're going to do different stuff. I mean, you want to see if he's in the area. If you get a buck that shows up through here, or multiple bucks, if you've got pictures of bucks coming through here during the time that you're doing it, and I believe you're going to, you've been putting them on the ground, that gives you confidence to say, hey, there are these other bigger bucks, they are coming through here. Okay, they are coming through this area. I just need to wait them out. Okay, if one thing I would suggest is you could scout and look and see if you don't have old rub lines and stuff out in here where these bucks are skirting out around you. That's a dead giveaway. I'll tell you, people, I've seen people talk about rubs. You can't use rubs to kill deer. Bull crap. I've killed a bunch of bucks with a bow and arrow just because of rubs. Period. Number one reason that I've killed bucks is on rub lines. They tell you where the heck they're moving, especially early season. But the thing is, with them, that's a whole different ball game. I mean, that's a whole different ball game. These deer are living on 15, 20 acres, and they don't hardly ever leave it. And a lot of times you just have to bump the deer out, go in there and hunt him, and let him come back, and you kill him when he's coming back because you run him out going in. So, anyways, that's a whole different ball game. But if you're not getting pictures of these big bucks here, they're crossing through here unless they're crossing out through the middle of these fields. And if they're standing corn, they may be. But I have a seriously hard time, Deontay, seriously, that I have a hard time believing that they're not coming through here. This whole area here. This area is just a natural funnel. And it just looks like it. I mean, if you look at this, it looks like an hourglass. The whole thing does. I mean, it almost looks like an hourglass. Just a perfect drawing of an hourglass. It's just a funnel. Two funnels that are running together, and this being the center point right here. So, anyways, I appreciate it. If you have any questions, Deontay, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll help you out the best I can. If you kill one, please share, picture with me. I like to see it. Some guys, they'll share pictures and say I can post it. And a lot of times I don't know. I need to put just a video together of pictures that other guys have killed that I've, done videos for and stuff like that. I don't even have most of the pictures, but I'd have to, ask some people to send me their pictures or whatever. And I'll just sometime maybe we'll just do that. I'll just put a snapshot video of deer that guys have killed if they'll allow me. So, if you do kill one, share the picture with me. I just like to see them. I love to deer hunt. I love to see deer just like anybody else. I like to talk about deer hunting. Anybody that truly loves deer hunt, you get to talking to them, especially if they're a talker, they'll just sit there and talk all day long. I can talk all day long about hunting. I can talk all day long about fishing. So anyways, I appreciate it. If you have any questions, Deontay, just like I said, shoot me an email. I'll help you out best I can. If you're confused about something, whatever it is, if you have an idea, hey, what do you think about this? I don't mind, even if I have to call you up on the phone or something to kind of figure out that doesn't bother me. So don't feel like you're, bugging me or anything like that. I hope this helps you out. I wish you luck. I really feel like your number one thing is start right now getting prepared to let these bucks walk. If you really want to kill them bigger bucks, you got to think about it. You've got 2 or 3 big bucks. You've probably got 10, 15 of these other, bucks like you've been killing. Your odds of killing one of them bigger bucks is a lot less than it is killing one of them smaller ones. If you have the time to hunt, I think you can do it every year. You can kill a really big one every year if you can hunt the property enough. If it's just you going up there for 1 or 2 days, it may take you a couple years to kill one. But I guarantee you, when you pull the trigger on one of them smaller bucks, there's a really good chance that old big boy's just right behind him. Let them walk. Just see. Bow hunting will tell you this. If you ever bow hunted, you'll see, because a lot of times the smaller buck that I would have probably shot, and I got lucky. Sometimes I've gotten lucky by bow hunting because the smaller buck was just out of bow range, or I couldn't get a shot at him, even though he was a nice buck, and then a really good buck's walked in bow range. A lot of times there's more, when you're seeing one buck, there's a reason they're there. When you see deer, there's a reason they're there. A lot of times there's multiple deer kind of running together, even though that sometimes they're 100, 200, 300 yards apart, or 15, 20, 30 minutes, hour and a half apart, 2 hours apart. They're still running that area for a reason. So get yourself set up for that if that's really what you want to do. If that's really one of your goals, that's going to be really, man, it's the number one reason people don't kill the big bucks they want to kill is because they shoot the smaller buck that was with the big buck. I've done it. I still do it. Matter of fact, done it last year. I got really aggravated and shot a buck that, I mean, I was proud of it, but because I killed it with a bow, but I was hunting a nice buck and I was frustrated because I seen him 3 or 4 times and then he walked 15 yards. Actually, it was 12 yards. Sucker walked 12 yards right through my shooting lane, and I was messing with my phone. So anyways, you got to prepare yourself for that. Have a good day. I appreciate you letting me take a look at your property and everything. Hope I helped you out. Have a good day, and bye-bye.